Our exhortation this morning comes from Ephesians 4, verses 31 through 32. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another as Christ forgave you. Well, over the last couple of years, we have given exhortations on most of the sins listed here in verse 31, bitterness, wrath, anger, slander. But what about clamor? Maybe even more importantly, what is clamor? The Greek word here is krauge. It appears just a few times in the New Testament, and it means to cry out. And one of the places, we've actually heard this recently, is in Luke 1, when Elizabeth sees Mary, and she cries out, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb." And of course, this is a positive use of this word. But here in Ephesians 4, it's a negative. It's a sin. And it's not a light one either. The list of offenses here is pretty stout. And in the context of this passage, it's referring to how the church is supposed to treat others in light of their new life in Jesus Christ. And you can see the contrast in verse 32. Don't be angry at your brother, forgive them. Don't be bitter towards your sister, be kind to her. Don't clamor, be tenderhearted. To clamor means to be indignant. It means to wail over perceived injustices. It's an insistence that your thoughts, your feelings, and your opinions need to be heard over everyone else. In other words, is when a grown-up acts like a child. Of course, social media offers us a front row view to this kind of behavior. And most of us are familiar with the videos and memes of liberals wailing over the Trump election or when Roe v. Wade was overturned. But we are not immune to this kind of behavior in our own circles. Even when the injustices are real, for example, say when the government overreached in response to COVID, there was a lot of clamor in response to these things. Every week a new controversy pops up, and every week there are Christians clamoring on the internet who ought to know better. Clamor is a symptom of the heart. It is not only a failure to practice self-discipline, but it is also a product of selfishness. Clamor is a result of prioritizing your own wants and desires over and against the needs of others. Clamor happens when you think and you act as if you are the most important person in the room, or the chat room, as the case may be. And so the way you combat this sin, the Bible tells us, is through forgiveness, through kindness, through being tenderhearted toward those who wrong you. Whether they are at your home, at your job, at school, on social media, or sitting right now in this church. Your job is to love them and forgive them as God in Christ forgave you. And contrary to what the world teaches, or what our hearts tell us, the Bible is clear. Our opinions, our rights, the desire to voice the injustices and slights we have experienced, these are not important. What is important is that we forgive those who have offended us and restore them in a spirit of gentleness. Let's continue to prepare our hearts for confession by singing hymn number 397.